Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another set. Welcome to another show of the AFC East Summit. I'm here with Anthony, Chris, and Sean. Anthony's going to be your host tonight, but first, I'd like to start out by telling you all about Cardell. Cardell is a little boy who is battling a rare form of cancer, and this holiday season, his family could use a little bit of help getting through things as the bills pile up and as things progress here. So, if you wouldn't mind checking out the QR code at the bottom of our show here, and checking out the link in the description to maybe give Cardell and his family a little bit of help this holiday season. Okay, Anthony, if you wouldn't mind. Anthony, it's your show.
Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead and let's get started with our updates for the week. Let's go with the only winner that we had in the AFC East this week, Delphin Keith. How'd you see that game?
Well, it was a 45-15 victory. And there's no notes. There's not a lot to say about it. They played a Commanders team that is clearly they're clearly waiting for the off season to begin right now. It should have been a comfortable victory, and it was a comfortable victory. I would have been concerned and frankly a little pissed off if it wasn't a comfortable victory against this team. Their offensive line's in complete shambles. They were in Sam Howell's lap within 2 seconds on every single drop back. It was kind of ridiculous, actually. And their offense took full advantage of a depleted Commander secondary. So there's a couple of guys I do want to shout out from this game. The first is Devon Achane, who came back in this game. He led the Dolphins in carries, led them in yards. And, he's going to be super important going forward because Mostert, he was looking a little lethargic. He was looking like he was 31 years old. And Devon Achane is going to be super important to the Dolphins. He's going to be super pivotal to the Dolphins going forward because Raheem Mostert needs somebody to spell him. You can't expect Raheem Mostert to carry the load if you're going to be going, in the latter portion of the season and the playoffs. You need a secondary guy to help take the load off of Raheem Mostert. And Devon Achane looked like that guy on Sunday. He was fast. He was decisive. He hit the holes hard. He broke some tackles, caught a couple balls out of the backfield. He did everything you could possibly ask of a running back. So I'm going to be looking forward to him, progressing moving forward. Second guy I'd like to point out is Andrew Van Ginkel, who had a great pick six where he read a screen and just jumped right in front of it, took it to the house. He had 1.5 sacks in this game. He was all over the field. The dude is just all heart, and the Dolphins almost lost him this offseason and brought him back on a 1-year deal. Super happy to have him back in the fold. And the way he's playing, it makes the loss of Jalen Phillips a little easier to stomach. Third guy I'd like to point out is Emmanuel Ogbah, who also had a sack in this game. And he's also kind of taking over for the Jake taking over in Jalen Phillips' role. And, between him and Andrew Van Ginkel, you got like two guys that like their powers combined, they are what Jalen Phillips was. You got Ogbah, who's a big physical presence. He's great against the run. He sets the edge really well. And then you have Andrew Van Ginkel, who's fast and quick off the edge. He's a pretty good pass rusher. Between those two guys, maybe you can Frankenstein yourself into a guy who's almost what Jalen Phillips was, which is what the Dolphins really need. So, yeah, I wanted to shout out those. Fourth guy I want to shout out, Sam Howell. In impossible circumstances, Sam Howell availed himself pretty well in this game. He looked yeah, steroid check on Tyreek Hill. Okay. No, you know what? Sam Howell looked like, on a team that looks like they're ready for the offseason. Teams look like they're kind of packing it in here. Sam Howell battled all afternoon. He made some nice throws. He was decisive in the pocket. He made some nice scrambles, made some nice plays outside of the pocket. I came away from that game really impressed by Sam Howell. And I think the Commanders might have really found something there. And I think it would behoove them moving forward to maybe try and build around Sam Howell and continue to explore what they have with that young man. I think, the team's crumbling around him, but he's trying to hold the ship together. And that's, for a young player like that, it's good to see. So yeah, I wanted to just shout out those guys. But other than that, there's not a lot to say about the Dolphins in that game. You don't really find out a lot about a team when they beat up on a Commanders team like that.
Getting the Dolphins a little bit. A few weeks ago, I guess about 6 weeks ago, before A-Chain went down, one of the things that came up was the potential of overusing him because he is sort of a smaller running back.
Yeah.
Are you at all concerned over the next 5 weeks or so, 4 weeks before they go into the playoffs, that maybe by giving him some of a lot more of Mostert's carries, you might actually potentially risk another injury, further injuring him, making him unavailable for the playoffs? Is that at all a concern for you? I mean, you got 17 carries, which I think was a season high for him this week.
Yeah, it was. It's a career high if we're getting down to it.
Short career.
Yeah, yeah. But no, yeah, that's definitely a concern of mine, Anthony. Absolutely. I mean, he's been injured twice this season, same knee, and of course, it's a concern for me going forward. But the thing is that the Dolphins don't seem to want to use Jeff Wilson all that much, and I don't know why. I always liked Jeff Wilson. I think he's a pretty good back, but the Dolphins don't want to use him. So in lieu of using Jeff Wilson, the Dolphins were using a little bit of Salvin Ahmed, who's on the IR right now. And in lieu of that, they were just running Raheem Mostert into the ground, and it was showing over, up until this week. Raheem Mostert looked pretty good this week, but he didn't get all that many carries. But up until this week, Raheem Mostert was starting to look like he was wearing down. So somebody has to step into that role. It might as well be Devon Achane. And, I'm concerned about him getting hurt again, of course. But, you have to have a two-headed backfield here somehow. And, the Dolphins are making a playoff push here. You can't be scared of injuries at this point in the season.
Well, I wouldn't say all that.
No, you can't.
If Tua goes down, then that's a pretty scary.
I'm scared to death of a Tua injury, but you don't say I'm not going to make Tua drop back to pass because you're afraid of him getting injured. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you do have to make.
You don't not give Devon Achane carries because you're scared of him getting injured at this stage of the season. The Dolphins are the number one seed in the AFC right now. They're making a push for home field advantage. There's no room to be scared of injuries. Let's see, Devon Achane. Did you start him in your league, Chris?
Sure did. I absolutely did. And I beat my opponent by 50 points, and it shot me into 4th place in that league. I was in 8th place, and everything worked out for me this week. So I ended up jumping into 4th place. And now Trevor Lawrence went down for me, so I'm hoping he comes back with his high ankle sprain. But that's another conversation. I did, so I'm happy.
Congratulations on that one, Chris.
Chris, we're coming to you next anyway. Dolphins score 45 points. How many games do you think it would take for the Patriots to score 45? Do they have 45 points in them over the course of the rest of the season?
Nah, but I think at this point, the Patriots are ready to break everything down and start new. We realize that losing Tom Brady, of course, losing the greatest quarterback in NFL history is a tremendous loss to any organization, but trying to replace him is even harder. So at this point, we've realized that there's no way we can replace him. And the quarterbacks that we have right now they don't have the talent to really push our team. They're not the franchise quarterbacks we should be investing in. So we gave Bailey Zappi a run at it this Sunday, and just we scored 0. We got shut out. And granted, it was a low scoring affair because our defense stood out, and the Chargers, who are surprisingly one of the worst teams, one of the not so good teams in the NFL at this point, were able to only kick 2 field goals in the second quarter, and that was it. But yeah, so at this point, we just need to give our guys a chance, let them kind of get used to. I'm surprised that we're not using Malik Cunningham at this point because Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones aren't the guys, and Malik Cunningham's still on our practice squad. So it's kind of weird to me, but our defense looks good. Our running backs look great, and we just really are paying for draft at this point. Arizona Cardinals won this Sunday. We lost, so we're looking at the number 2 pick, unless I forgot who's the. How you doing, Trek? Appreciate you joining us this evening.
Hello, Trek reviewer. Thanks.
I forgot who's the worst. Who's the worst team in the NFL right now? Who's got number 1 pick? It's looking like. Let me see.
It's Carolina.
Right now, Panthers.
Still Carolina.
Is it still Carolina?
Yeah.
I think the Bears got their pick. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So Chicago's looking like they're going to get the number 1 pick. I don't see them getting Caleb Williams because honestly, Justin Fields is not that bad of a quarterback. So maybe we have a shot at getting Caleb Williams for our future. We'll see. But at this point, we're playing for draft. We're like the Jets. We're playing for draft.
Yeah. Good smooth transition here. Jets game basically the same as I expected. Defense scored 2 points. Offense scored 6. Sweet. I don't know. It's weird to me as a Jets fan, a longtime Jets fan. It feels like we are rapidly approaching peak Rex Ryan circus era. I mean, we went through 2 quarterbacks that game, and then at 5 seconds later, literally 5 seconds after the game, it's like, so Saleh might want to start Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson says he doesn't want to go back in. This report that comes from absolutely nowhere. The Athletic reports it, and usually they're pretty accurate. Aaron Rodgers taking a giant dump on whoever's leaking. Then 5 seconds later, they cut Tim Boyle, which tells you all you need to know about who is leaking. Maybe. I mean, we are really rapidly approaching peak Rex Ryan circus era. It's weird. And it's like the worst part about it is that at least Rex Ryan won some games to start out his career. So he had something. This has just been straight to the circus. If you'd have asked me about a week ago if I thought Saleh was going to survive, I think last week we talked a little bit about it. I would have said absolutely. I think they're bringing Saleh back because of Aaron Rodgers. I'm starting to question that now. The way that the locker room is responding, I'm all for it. If they're gonna fire him and hire somebody like Eric Bieniemy, if they're gonna fire him and go after the dude from the Lions, Johnson, I'm fine with it. I'm just no more defensive coaches. This guy's only claim to fame is the fact that he is the defensive coordinator who's really good at coaching the same scheme that literally every other defensive coordinator in the NFL coaches. Fine. Find another one. It's not like we don't have enough talent on defense. It's not like he calls anything amazing. It's not like he's just a rah-rah guy. I mean, he's a motivational speaker, as far as I can tell. It's been a weird week. We're looking at draft capital. We'll get into the draft a little bit later. I want to talk a little bit about prospects because, at least 2 of us on this panel are basically only looking forward to the draft, and there's potentially one other that might just be looking at the draft. So it's slowly becoming relevant. But with that, Keith, you had something that you wanted to bring up. It's rather cryptic about it. I'm looking forward to it.
So you know what, Anthony, you actually just touched on it, but I was going to start with Sean on this one. I'm going to pose this question to all 3 of you because all 3 of your coaches' positions are in flux right now. You don't know if they're going to be back or not. So I'm going to ask all 3 of you a three-pronged question here. I'm going to start with Sean. Sean, do you want Sean McDermott to come back?
No.
Do you think he'll come back?
Yes.
And if the answer to either of those questions is no, who do you want to see replace him?
Well, it's tough because I don't really know who's available. People bring up, Slowick, the offense coordinator for the Texans, or the guy from the Lions, offensive coordinator. But if you guys remember when Dayball was with us, he took a couple extra years before he got a head coach job. So I don't know for sure who's even available. I was done with McDermott last year, and I gave him the benefit. I'm going to brag a little bit. I was one of the few people out there that said I don't want him to be the defensive coordinator and the head coach. I was completely against it. And everyone's like, no, dude, he's going to be an aggressive play caller. He's this, he's that. It's going to work out. If anyone could do it, he can. And I was just like, it wasn't Leslie Frazier's fault for 13 seconds. I can tell you that for sure. And when it came out that it wasn't Leslie Frazier that called it, it was leaked out. I said, I really believe that. So I stood on that for like a year, and everyone tried to tell me, hey, no, he's going to be aggressive. He was aggressive in Carolina. He was aggressive in Philly, blah, 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 blah. And as you see, we lost 4 games this year because the defense was playing soft at the end of the game after we took over, not wanting to give up the big play. And they ultimately give up the big play anyway. So, like Mike said, I'd rather have an offensive-minded coach. But I can't honestly sit here and say I have an idea of who, because I don't know who's available yet. But I would be fine because, sure, I like McDermott, but this is year 7 for him. And we went from AFC Championship to getting blown out in the divisional round to having a really good divisional round that we should have won, but it was the coaching, failed in the end. And then we got blown out at home in the divisional round last year. And now we're on the verge of missing the playoffs when guys like Gardner Minshew, Joe Flacco, Mitch Trubisky, and CJ Beathard are going to be in the playoffs.
And
so
Jake Brown.
And Jake Brown, yeah. So, so if, in my opinion, it's run its course. If you guys all, we've been fired. I'm sure all of us have been fired before, had a job that, we started declining and then didn't work out and you mutually parted ways. It's kind of how this is to me. You started up here, and instead of staying here, or maybe going up and then going back down and going back up, you went from here to da-da-da-da-da-da. So if we missed the playoffs, I don't care what the reports were. The reports were he's got 0 chance of getting fired. If we miss the playoffs, you got to go. And there's no – because let me ask you guys this before you continue. Would a healthy Tua, would a healthy Joe Burrow, would a healthy Pat Mahomes, would a healthy Trevor Lawrence, would a healthy – I'm not going to count Justin Herbert, I guess, but any good quarterback that's usually in the playoffs, if they're healthy, are they going to miss the playoffs? And the answer is, my opinion, is going to be no. So there's no excuse as to why we missed the playoffs with a quarterback like Josh Allen. So if we miss it, get out of here. And I don't know who we pick, but I'd like to lean on the offensive side.
Okay. All right, Chris, same question. Do you want to see Bill Belichick back?
Absolutely.
Do you think he'll come back?
Absolutely.
Good enough. Then I'm not going to ask you who you want to replace him because you've just answered both of my questions. Bill Belichick's going to be your coach next season.
Well, who do you replace the greatest coach in NFL history with?
Maybe you reincarnate Vince Lombardi or something. I don't know. No, there's been rumblings out of New England that maybe Bill Belichick won't return. Maybe he's trying to spread his wings and go elsewhere, maybe to the Commanders, perhaps, maybe to a team like the Bears who have, a crazy amount of draft capital.
They got the first and the 5th pick, don't they, this year? It's crazy.
Yeah, right now, yeah. They're a super attractive option for any coaching candidate. I personally think Harbaugh.
I wonder if they'll get rid of their Sluice, though.
Yeah.
He's starting to win some games, putting some things together. Maybe they're going to give him another chance.
I could see it.
Really strong.
Yeah,
I could also see a scenario where Jim Harbaugh says, I want to coach for the Bears, and they say, okay, come on down. I do think Eberflus is riding the ship down there. I agree with you there, Sean. All right, so Anthony, same question. Do you want to see Robert Saleh back? No.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Saleh fired before this year, to be honest with you. I was not a big fan of the hire from the beginning.
Okay.
I always kind of got like meathead vibes from him. And he has been outcoached many times. I don't really care about he doesn't use his timeouts always on time. Fine, whatever. You'll lose games on the margins, but the fact that he's the best thing that you can say is that he's been saddled with bad quarterbacks. That's the best that I can say about him. It's also entirely possible that he's done everything he can to make the quarterback situation that they've had, and they've started something like 7 quarterbacks in the last 2 years. He's taken the quarterback situation that they had and made it worse by an overall absurdly conservative philosophy that hinders play callers or the offense in general. They had bad offensive lines, that's fair, but a lot of that also comes with, he's the head of the franchise, and they've drafted a ton of defensive talent. That defensive talent's panned out. But when Joe Douglas took over this team, the offensive line was already a disaster. It had been neglected for a decade before he got here. I don't feel underinvested, but I was talking to a friend of mine who's also a Jets fan, and he said Joe Douglas invested a reasonable amount in offensive line. But the thing was, we weren't a reasonable amount on offensive line away from being a good offensive line. We were so bad that we needed a dramatic overinvestment. We've not seen that. That's not led to functional offense. On top of the fact that that Robert Saleh has preached extraordinarily conservative offense. Run the ball, punt it, try to play field position, don't take too many shots. And you see how the results have landed. He's just, he's exactly what, you would have expected from an overly conservative defensive head coach that just wants his defensive stats to look fantastic. I'm done with it. I've seen it. I've seen that my whole life. I've seen that going all the way back to Herm Edwards, going to then Eric Mangini, to Rex Ryan, to Todd Bowles, the one offensive genius we've hired, Adam Gase. Tell me all about him, please.
Oh, I can tell you a lot about Adam Gase.
You can tell me plenty, I'm sure. I'm sick of it. I'm sick and tired of playing scared. Win big, lose big, but do something.
All
Don't
right,
run
the second part of the question, Anthony.
Second part of the question.
Do you
Eric Bieniemy. I'll take. Do I think he'll be back? Probably. Woody Johnson's scared. Woody Johnson, and it depends. Let me take that back. It depends a little bit on how Aaron Rodgers feels, because I have a feeling that Aaron Rodgers is going to have an ear into Woody Johnson. Weirdly enough, if that means that Hackett is fired also, I don't know. I couldn't tell you that, but I have a feeling everybody's going to be back unless Aaron Rodgers is legitimately pissed off because Robert Saleh has apparently recently leaked to one of the WFAN guys, the radio guys that he didn't like, Zach Wilson. This is what I mean by peak circus, by the way. The reports coming out of everywhere. Some Joe Beningo from local radio is saying one thing. Connor Hughes, some fucking sorry, just dropped an F-bomb. Absolute moron. Absolute moron on the beat is tweeting out, "I'm sorry that I said to bench Zach Wilson." When a reporter is actively saying that I had an influence on Zach Wilson getting benched, and it's probably partly true. The fact that that's the way that we are peak Rex Ryan circus. We're a Tebow punt protector away from all the way, baby. I don't know. It's just I would love to see him fired. I'm not positive it's going to happen. We'll see what over the next couple of weeks or so. We'll see if Zach Wilson even comes back out. We'll see how that goes. It might be Trevor Siemian starting. I think it probably should be, not because he's good, but because I just want to see more of this disaster class fire. So we'll see what happens going forward with that. Who would I like to replace him with? Eric Bieniemy is probably at the top of my list. What he's done with Sam Howell this year, unbelievable. Like, for the longest time, it was, Andy Reid has turned Patrick Mahomes into the greatest quarterback ever. And that's probably true because Patrick Mahomes is by far the most talented quarterback Andy Reid has ever had. Since, probably 31-year-old Michael Vick. 31-year-old Michael Vick was probably more talented than even peak Dante Culpepper. And Patrick Mahomes is more talented than Michael Vick. So, you're looking at the best coach with the best coordinator. But, Eric Bieniemy's clearly no slouch.
No.
With maybe one of the five worst offensive lines in football, somehow he's managed to turn Sam Howell into, at the very least, the quarterback equivalent of J.R. Smith.
Yeah, that's how I put it.
I mean, look, I watched the Commanders this Sunday. I watched Eric Bieniemy, with that offense. Their offense wasn't their issue. Their offensive line was their issue, but more than anything, their defense can't stop a cold right now. The defense can't stop a running. Their secondary, especially, is just Tua could do whatever he wanted against them.
How has Rivera survived this long?
Yeah.
I mean, I assumed that they hired Bieniemy because they were going to replace Rivera at some point and they would just have the offensive guy to step in immediately. But the fact that we're in week, 13, 14 now, and Ron Rivera is still running it back,
Yeah, well, they fired Jack Del Rio, so they'll probably fire him at Rivera at the end of the year.
Oh,
and Bieniemy will probably, unfortunately for people that want offensive coach, he'll probably just stay in Washington because he'll be like, oh, this is why I came here. Maybe he won't stay there. Maybe he'll want to go to the Jets. But
it is
I'm sure ownership. Yeah, I'm sure it probably will. But I do want to echo what you said, Anthony. I've been saying this stuff about Saleh from at least last year too. And you guys, you're in a perfect position now to start over and have a new coach and I'd even say Joe Douglas too, because he's part of the problem with this quarterback debacle. Yeah, you got Aaron Rodgers, but you didn't bring anyone else in. After week one, you knew that you didn't have Aaron Rodgers and you kept with Zach Wilson. You guys said you wanted to have a redshirt year for him, but yet he was starting in week two. Well, he started week one, or not started, but went in week one. And then it took you to week 11 to put a different quarterback. Trevor Siemian, Tim Boyle, these guys aren't good. And yeah, he's had a couple good drafts, but I think it's a perfect time to at least get rid of Saleh and have him, because you guys will probably be picking within the top 10 again. So you might be able to get a good quarterback. So have the new head coach come in, maybe decide, okay, I like this quarterback. I don't like this quarterback, but I'm going to go with this guy and then see how it goes. And then, maybe keep Joe Douglas this year and see how it goes. And at least have the head coach have a say in the quarterback because, it's hard to say if you're a quarterback away right now because we don't know how many people are going to hang around and wait. The defense is just busting their ass every week, and they're going to want to win. They've been championship level for years, so maybe some of them are going to get tired of it. And I don't know. I think personally, from an outside perspective, I think you got to get a new head coach. No matter what, you can't just because think about it this way: Rodgers comes back next year, right? You win 9 or 10 games. You maybe make the playoffs. Now, is Saleh really a good coach, or did he just have Rodgers and helped him out? So I think keep Rodgers next year, but still get a new head coach. Don't worry about what Rodgers says because you're still going to pay him, and he should know we want to win. Yeah, you like Saleh. Yeah, you like Nate Hackett, but we haven't made the playoffs in 13 years. These fans keep coming out to games to watch 10 points a game. And then now you want to keep this guy because you like him. You should know you want to have a winning mentality. So,
but also Sean, Aaron Rodgers has to realize that he's not the future of the Jets right now. Anyway,
yeah, that's another reason why you should let a new coach pick a new quarterback because, and that was the only reason why I mentioned Douglas too is because he kind of picked Zach. I guess he was the final hand in the pot for Zach. Then he doubled down on Zach and tripled down on Zach. So maybe he isn't the best option to pick a new quarterback. That's the only reason why I threw him in there. But if you got a new head coach, you pick a new quarterback, you sit him behind Rodgers, and then see how it goes after 1 or 2 years. And, like I said, you guys got a great defense and get a couple more weapons on offense, and maybe you could get Marvin Harrison Jr. You know, maybe you could trade up and get him, and then
Please
draft a
no.
quarterback
no.
later, and it might
I
be
think
good.
I'm pretty sure Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to go to the Bears if they retain a number 1 pick.
Yeah, if
I'm
they don't
kind of
pick,
hoping he
they don't
falls to
pick a
like number
quarterback.
32, where the Dolphins are going to be picking.
I don't see if you're Chicago why you need a new quarterback though, because like I said, I think Justin Fields is perfectly capable.
Capable of what though?
He's
Justin
a franchise
Fields,
quarterback.
he's been inconsistent. And if there's one criticism I have of, we talked about Matt Eberflus earlier. If there's one criticism I have of Matt Eberflus, it's that he hasn't gotten the best out of Justin Fields. And I don't know if there is a better Justin Fields, a better version of Justin Fields. But
I think there is a better version of Justin Fields, but I don't think you're going to get that version of Justin Fields over an offseason and another offensive coordinator change. I think Justin Fields needs to change. I think he needs to sit. I think he needs to clean up his mechanics. I think he needs to be comfortable inside of an offense that isn't changing all the time. Justin Fields he needs the scaffolding. He needs the thing built around him, and he needs to be able to sit and watch somebody else do it. And the problem that the Bears have is that they need to make the decision on his 5th-year option this offseason. He's got essentially 5 more games to make a decision, or to really show them that he's made some progress. And I do watch their games basically every week because I live in Chicago now. And he's still too slow for his progressions. He takes his dropbacks are some of the worst in the NFL right now. His dropbacks, like his footwork, is at least as bad as Bryce Young's. And that's another bad set of footwork. If you look at, CJ Stroud, purposeful steps. Every one of his steps has a purpose. Even Brock Purdy, every one of his steps in his drop back has a purpose. He knows where 1 is, he knows where 2 is, and he knows to get the ball away. And Justin Fields bails on clean pockets too often. He needs to sit. He needs to have those kind of Geno years because the early Bears have kind of ruined him.
Yeah.
And the way the rookie skill works, like you run the risk of, if not picking up his 5th-year option, having him have a great 4th year in the league, and then you have to either use a franchise tag or Danny Dimes him. Nobody should go full Danny Dimes.
Yeah.
You don't go.
I will
full
say
Danny
though,
Dimes.
if they do decide to keep Justin Fields, like you said, they could have DJ Moore, then they can get Marvin Harrison Jr., and they could draft another, because they drafted a right tackle who we like, us in Nickel City Mafia, we liked a lot, Darnell Wright. You could draft another tackle or a guard or a center at 5, and then if you keep Justin Fields, or you can just draft a quarterback, get Marvin Harrison at 5, or draft a quarterback, get another lineman at 5, and then they brought in a couple pieces on defense this year, and then maybe they could draft more defense. They have, I think, $100 million or something in cap space, so they could pick up good. They could pick up good free agents too. So we'll see. Maybe Kirk Cousins can go to the Bears.
It's not the worst.
Yeah, but I mean, they're gonna have to make a big choice here, because if they're not sold on Justin Fields, you got the opportunity to get another quarterback. If you're fine with him, or you want to pick up a quarterback in free agency with all the money you got, then you got the 2 top 5 picks where you can pick a generational wide receiver talent and another, start bolstering your O-line more, or you can build up the O-line in free agency, because like you said, we got a lot of money. They got a lot of money going, so they have a lot of things to figure out.
Yeah, and I think also the Patriots are in a prime position right now to really fast track their rebuild, because, like you mentioned, talk about the Bears cap space, but the Patriots also have about $90 million in cap space right now moving forward, and a top 5 draft pick, hopefully number 1. So all we need to do, like we said, we have potential on our offensive side. We can use that money to bolster our offensive line and pick up some stud wide receivers maybe in the offseason. And if we draft a good quarterback, hopefully we get number 1, we get Caleb Williams. If not, number 2, maybe somebody like Drake May. But if that's all we need really moving forward, and then I think by this, we have a different team looking, next year. Definitely this is going to be a season to forget. And, we shall see. This draft is going to really determine how we look moving forward. If we're going to bring back the dynasty, or if we're going to just continue to be on our rebuild period.
Let's take a look at our let's preview our matchups coming up for next week. Keith, who do you have coming up this week?
We have the Titans on Monday Night Football. Yeah, it's not. Man, Monday Night Football games. Actually, last night's game was pretty good. And I'm hoping Trevor Lawrence does come back. I hope he comes back healthy.
It's a high ankle sprain, so I think it's 4 to 6.
If you're a running back, probably come back in like 2 or 3. If you're a quarterback.
Yeah, but the thing is that the Jaguars are now in kind of a neck and neck race with the Colts. So
and Texans.
Yeah, exactly. So they need as much of Trevor Lawrence as they can get, even if he's at 50%.
That kind of sucks for us too, just to cut you off, Keith, because the Browns play the Jags this week.
Yep.
And the Browns are a team that we could probably leapfrog, but with CJ Beathard at the helm, I don't know if the Browns can lose that game now. So Lawrence is at least missing this week. That just kind of sucks for us because it's like they got to play I think they play the Colts one more time. They play the Browns. I'm just like, oh, that could have helped us out for the wild card, but if he's not playing, then I mean, geez, like yesterday kind of screwed us too because the plan was Bengals lose, they go to 5-7. Then the Bengals beat the Colts next week. Then they'll be 6-7, and then the Colts get down a little bit, and then we can keep moving up. But of course, nothing works out how we want it to. So sorry, Keith, go ahead.
No, it's all right. So the one AFC South team that we haven't mentioned is the Titans, and that's who the Dolphins are playing. Titans are obviously in the bottom of that division. They're having, let's call it a transitional year with their quarterback. Derrick Henry's looking old. DeAndre Hopkins has been really good, and I like Will Levis. I like what Will Levis brings to the table. Anthony's giving me the eyebrow right now, but he's a big physical quarterback with a great arm. If they can harness that, then Will Levis can turn into a player.
Yeah.
But
if
it's a big if. So Finn Sports Podcast, thank you for tuning in. You're thinking Finn's 35, Titans 13. It's not. I'm going to say this. I don't think it's as easy as you're making it out to be to blow out a Mike Vrabel coached football team. So I'm going to go a little bit closer. I'm going to say it's going to be 27-17 Dolphins win. I think the Dolphins are going to finally pull ahead by 2 scores in the fourth quarter, but it's going to be a closer game than I think people realize.
No, I think Miami. You remember, and I've been mentioning it pretty much all season, or at least since Devon Achane went down. But Miami's biggest explosiveness came from their backfield. Their 1-2 punch and their 2-headed monster in Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. Now that Devon Achane's back, we can kind of see. Yeah, exactly. Finn Sports is correct. Levis has one good game, and that was the first game when he took over. And ever since then, he's been pits. He's been garbage. So I don't think. I think they need to go ahead and swap him out for Malik Willis. And give him another shot because I don't see why they still have playing his mediocre game. Is
Tannehill benched or is he hurt?
It's a little bit of both. He has been released, in fact. There's a rumor that he's just like, please let me go because I know you're not going to play me again. And they can't play him again because if he gets hurt, his contract is guaranteed for next year.
And let me ask you this too, Chris. You had Nick Folk for years. How many times did he miss a damn extra point in his career with the Patriots? None. And then, of course, he misses one to win the game against the Colts, which would have helped us out. And, of course, he misses it, and then they end up losing. But how many times did he miss an extra point in New England? 0?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course. Figures.
Yeah, nothing does work out for the Bills. But, I think Miami, like I said, Miami's their explosiveness really depended on one. Tyreek Hill is the man, and he can do everything. It's kind of a shame you haven't really seen Jalen Waddle come into form like you expected him to this year. I don't know what happened with that there, but that 1-2 punch of Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane really helps solidify the offense because now you don't know where to go. You have all the movement in the backfield. Is it going to be a dish off? Is it going to be a what's it called? like a reverse to Tyreek Hill, there'll be a reverse to Waddle. There's so much emotion, there's so much confusion. They have such an explosive team. It's just hard for any defensive play caller to really figure them out. So I think now that they have Achane who's healthy, like you said, he did re-injure his knee. And it was a good idea for them because he was ready to come back that game. So it was a good idea on McDaniel and Daniel's part to sit him out that game and then another week to let him fully recover. So now he's back. They gave him the bulk of the carries last week on the second half, and you see what he did with it. So yeah, I think they've really found their offense, and if he can stay healthy, then I think they can make a deep playoff push this year, which is sad to say as a Patriots fan, but it is what it is.
It's okay, Chris. I watched the Patriots do that to me for 20 years. You can live with it for one season, man.
No.
All of that to say that this is going to be a free win for you this week, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go there, man. I'm never gonna call any game a free win. I do think the Dolphins are gonna win. I will be pissed off and upset next week if they don't win. But
the collapse is coming, Keith. Don't worry.
Yeah,
it always does.
And tell Bills fan. Oh, sorry, Keith. I was gonna say tell Bills fan CA the last team that popped champagne blew a 28-3 lead.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm looking at the Titans and the Jets, and then I'm looking at Cowboys, Ravens, Bills to end the season. I'm dreading it. So I'm going to enjoy these next 2 weeks while I can. Hopefully, I'll enjoy them. But I still have Cowboys, Ravens, Bills on my mind, and they're
11-5 still going to win you the division, though. So
and Cowboys aren't
maybe
one thing that people. I'm
But
sorry. I was
11
gonna say one thing. All right.
Hold on. 11-5. The Bills are already at 6 losses. 11-5.
It would be 11-6 also if we won out and they won out.
Yeah, if you both won out, but like if right now they're at 9 wins, 2 wins gets you to 11, and your next 2 teams are the Titans and the Jets. Those are
lose the last 3.
Even if they lose the last 3, they're still at 11-5, and you can't get there because you already have 6 losses.
No,
they win the division if they win the next 2 weeks.
No, there's 17 games now, Anthony. So the Dolphins will be 11-6.
Oh, 11-7. No, 11-5. Yeah, no, 11-6. You're right.
11-6. Yeah.
Damn it.
Why that only matters if the Bills win out. So if the Bills win out and the Dolphins lose to the Cowboys, Ravens, and Bills, they're both 11-6. We win the division.
Getting back to this comment, I am not popping the champagne. I am not popping the champagne. I've been a Dolphins fan for too long to be popping champagne right now. Come on.
Hey, if you beat the Cowboys or the Ravens, you could pop it.
Yeah. If I beat the Cowboys or the Ravens,
they got a good chance of beating the Cowboys because something people don't realize is the Cowboys have only had good games against bums. Against high-powered offenses, they do not perform. They're getting blown out. They're getting their behinds kicked. So if you look at their schedule, who the Dolphins beat?
Yes, you can talk about one team beating only bad teams.
Well, Dallas beat the Seahawks. The Seahawks were 6-5.
Yeah. What's up?
I said Dallas beat the Seahawks. They were 6-5, so they got that monkey off their back.
And they played
the Seahawks also had a hurt Kenneth Walker, and they have a rookie wide receiver leading there as their number 2. I mean, and Geno Smith. Geno Smith is not one of those guys who's going to go off. I feel like he doesn't have great games. He's more like a game manager. He's not they don't take him off the leash. So
I don't know a funny thing real quick.
3 touchdowns.
Against
the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Cowboys
shy.
Yeah, but it's the Cowboys defense. Yeah, I don't know. All
right, so get this real quick. The Arizona Cardinals are 3-10, right?
Yes.
They beat more winning teams than the Bills, the Dolphins, the Cowboys, and the Chiefs, and they got 3 wins. They beat the Cowboys and they beat the Steelers. So it's just crazy to think like one of the worst teams in the NFL has more wins against winning teams than some of the best teams, and it's just like, how is that even possible?
Yeah,
even the Jets have more wins against winning teams than the Dolphins do.
Yeah.
And
that's
Patriots too.
And
we beat the Bills.
Sports Podcast point here, one game at a time. Yes, I agree, but there's still a dark cloud looming for the Dolphins, and it's in the form of the Cowboys, the Ravens, and the Bills. we'll see how they. And I'm not popping champagne even if they do win the division, because not until they beat one of those teams will I start popping champagne and start to actually believe in this Dolphins team. And that's all I have to say about that, in the words of Forrest Gump.
All right. Let's go to the Bills, because it's the only other team that has a chance of winning this week. Tell us about your matchup.
Well, we got the hated Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to Arrowhead again for the 6th time out of 7. We won the last 2 years there in the regular season. The guys, they don't disappear there. So when they play in Arrowhead, they seem to bring a lot of juice and a lot of energy. So I'm not worried about the environment. I'm not worried about playing in Arrowhead at all. One thing I'm worried about is Mahomes hasn't had a back-to-back loss in 2 years, so that's not in our favor. But I like the way we match up against this team. It's weird that, it's finally catching up to them that they don't have Tyreek Hill. Kelsey's still really great, but they went from winning the Super Bowl last year with a guy like Juju, and now they just can't get nothing going, whether it's dropping the ball, whether it's poor offensive tackle play, whether it's whatever, but their defense is finally playing good. And believe it or not, Josh Allen has double-digit more touchdowns total than Patrick Mahomes does this year. And I would never have thought that. And, as he's still the best quarterback in the NFL, that just goes to show how struggling their offense has been. They had 6 games this year where they didn't crack over 21 points. And there was like 5 of those in Mahomes' career in general up until now. So they're very beatable. Our offense seems to be clicking. Our backs are against the wall. This is it. If you lose this game, you're done. So they better come out with all the fire from now until if we make it to the playoffs, if we go farther, get to the Super Bowl or whatever. Every week is a Super Bowl. Because if you lose this week, you're done. If you win this week and lose next week, you got to get a lot of help. But if you beat Kansas City and Arrowhead, you beat the Dallas Cowboys at home, you got the Chargers, the Patriots, and then week 18 versus the Dolphins. And no shade at the Dolphins, but they beat us 1 time out of the last 12. And that includes in Miami. So I wouldn't be worried about playing Miami just because I like how we match up with them, as great of a team as they are. So the whole rest of my hope and the whole rest of I'm not wearing any Bills gear until Bills game. That's why I'm wearing all my championship Washington Nationals gear, because they made me upset. They hurt me. So they don't deserve for me to wear their gear until the game day. And then if they win, then I'll wear it every day like I usually do. But the whole rest of the season turns out on tomorrow. It doesn't matter. Like, we're always hoping, do the Browns got to lose. This team's got to lose. None of that matters if we lose tomorrow, Sunday. So win Sunday, 1 game at a time. Go 1-0 every day. That was their motto. 1-0 every day, and go from there. We got a team that can make a run, and I can promise you, if we go 5-0, make the playoffs somehow, no team wants to play us, because we're going to be the hottest team in the NFL at this point, and it'll be dangerous. But, it's kind of frustrating looking at the teams that are in it right now, like Gardner Minshew, Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco. You might as well put the Jets in there. They got a great defense too, right? They got a bad offense. They got great defense, just like those other teams. And that's what it's really going to piss me off. But I like the matchup with the Chiefs again, just going back and forth. I think Diggs is going to have a day. It's going to be hard to stop him. Dalton Kincaid's going to do well in the middle of the field. We've been starting to run the ball a lot more. We've ran the ball well all year, but we're giving more carries now. The offensive line's been fantastic. Defense, that's my one worry, because they'll play great all game, and then when we need you the most, they'll give up a touchdown or fail. They'll fail and blow everything out, and it won't matter. So worried about the defense, but the way Mahomes has been playing, they've been struggling offensively. I think we could do a good job offensively. I think if we score 25 points or above, we'll win. So confident, excited, nervous. Hate that it's coming down to this, but it's that atmosphere where you're like, here we go. This is the AFC Championship in 2020, or hey, this is the divisional round in 2021. This is what it's all about now. So it'll be fun in that aspect, but I'm still clinging on to that little hope that we went out and then we steal the division away from the Dolphins, who had it the whole year. And then not Keith, but a lot of my friends who are Fins fans wrote us off 2 weeks ago. They say, "Oh, the division's ours, AFC East. We're the new champs." So it'd just be so sweet, and I'm sure you two would appreciate it too. All the Dolphins fans were hyped up. They're like, "Yep, the season's over already. We got the division." And then the Bills come in the last second and swoop it out from underneath them.
Sean, I don't understand if you're a Dolphins fan how you can be puffing your chest out like that after the last 25 years of being just mediocre to bad, and you're puffing your chest out after getting a 3-game lead. Like it's
I get it.
impossible that the Bills could catch us. That blows
sorry
my
for
mind,
sorry
man.
for ranting. I just got one more thing to say.
The arrogance
In the preseason, not you people, but a lot of other people out there, people that don't like the Bills would say stuff like, "I can see the Bills not making the playoffs. I can see the Bills getting third place behind the Jets and the Dolphins." And it makes me mad because they just say that to say it all the time, and it's that one time where it might actually happen. It's like, not trying to pick on Keith or Dolphins fans. They haven't won a playoff game in 23 years. One of these years they're going to win one. So as every year, if they keep saying, "We're going to win a playoff game this year, we're going to win a playoff game this year," one of these times they will be right. And this is the year where people said, "Oh, the Bills are going to get third place. The Bills might not make the playoffs," because they wanted to say it with no actual evidence that they might not make the playoffs, because we are a better team than we were last year. Now they might be right. It just makes me mad because they just said it to say it.
Who's the quarterback? Little trivia question for you guys. Who's the quarterback the Dolphins beat in their last playoff win?
Who the one that beat?
Yeah. Who's the quarterback?
I don't remember who they beat, but it was wasn't it Greasy, the one you guys had?
No, it was our quarterback was Jay Fiedler, and he beat
Fiedler, yeah.
He beat Peyton Manning in his third season with the Indianapolis Colts. That was the last time the Dolphins won a playoff game. That's how long
it's been quite some time. So, Sean, it sounds like you won't be wearing any more Bills gear until next year, huh?
Well, hey, they don't win any more games. Yeah, it's more of like obviously they don't care about if I wear the gear or not, but it's more of like putting energy into the world. Like they gotta know deep down that their fan base is pissed off and they got to win these games, and then the reward of them playing well is some loser that loves the Buffalo Bills wearing their gear the rest of the week. But this is also kind of good luck because, again, I love the rant. If you guys couldn't tell. This team, the Washington Nationals in 2019, if for people that don't remember that year, don't follow baseball, they were 19-31. They had a 0.1% chance of making it to the World Series. Then after the All-Star break, they went like 60-20. They went insane. Then they beat the Brewers and Josh Hader in the wild card. Then they swept the Cardinals. They beat the 115-win Dodgers. And they beat the 115 cheating Astros all on the road and won the World Series with a 0.1% chance of making it. So I'm wearing this also because that's kind of where the Bills are at right now. They don't even have a 1% chance of making the play of being a Super Bowl winner. So maybe the tides will turn. Maybe the juju will shed off from the Nationals to the Bills, and we'll see.
I hope not. You should put
Sean,
Bills
not to take it down too much, but what happens if you do lose this week?
Honestly, I don't think I even want to. I'll probably be very sad. I'll probably.
You could join us.
I don't drink or smoke or do anything bad, so I can't turn to that. But I probably won't eat. I probably won't eat for a day or two. I'll just sit there like. I'll take like a week off from making videos. I don't know. Like I honestly physically don't know if I can handle the Bills not making the playoffs. And I know it sounds stupid, but I really don't think I could deal with it mentally. I think I'll just be like, I honestly couldn't tell you, but hopefully they win. They win.
All I can say, Sean, is if they don't win, then don't look in the Buffalo Bills Discord channel because I will be in there.
I'm never there anyway, so. But yeah, appreciate you guys letting me rant a little bit.
Of course.
All
right, Chris, where are you going into this week? Are you cheering for a win?
I mean, we're playing the Steelers, and the Steelers are one of the better defenses in the league. And with our quarterback situation right now, I don't really see us beating the Steelers. I think it's going to be another low-scoring event. I think who's the quarterback that they have right now? I forgot his name. The because I know
It's
Kenny
Trubisky.
Pickett is hurt. Yeah, Trubisky, the
Yeah,
old Bills quarterback.
the
So I
Bears
know.
guy.
Yes, the old Bears quarterback. Yeah, so I know Trubisky brings probably a better element, probably a better offensive element to the Steelers than I want to say than Kenny Pickett did. In my opinion, he's probably better in the pocket, probably scramble better, and I don't know. We'll
Actually, one
see.
half of the other, Chris.
Their numbers are almost identical.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be honest
Yeah.
with you, that offense changes not at all.
Well, maybe the being on the bench might have enlightened him a little bit. Being sat down. Who knows? But all I know is that the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh is a lot better than the quarterback situation in New England. So I don't really see us winning. I see it being another low-scoring event. But unfortunately, it's going to be a Thursday night game, so we're all going to be bored to death while we wait for the Sunday games. But
I'm not even going to bother watching that game, Chris.
I need y'all to win that
I mean,
one.
I don't blame you. I didn't bother watching this Saturday. I mean, this Sunday. So I knew it was going to be low scoring. So, and I was right. So I decided to watch all the games that mattered, and New England was not one. Right now, I just hope we continue to lose and raise our draft capital. I'd rather get the first pick than us beat the Steelers. I'd rather, and then we play the Chiefs next week. We're not going to beat the Chiefs, so it doesn't really matter what happens. I just want us to keep losing and rebuild.
Let's go ahead and catch up on the chat a little bit. So, Finn's Sports Podcast, Chiefs 20, Bills 19, Mahomes is mad. I love that a really angry, pissed off Mahomes barely scores 20 points. That's where we are. Angry Mahomes, 2 touchdowns and a couple of field goals. Get him, boy.
Well, you gotta feel for Patrick Mahomes too, because at this point he's relying on a rookie wide receiver as a number one in Rashee Rice, and MVS can't catch a deep field pass to save his life. So
hold on though, he is some people have said the greatest of all time. So if he is that, I don't.
He's still winning games.
I don't care.
You can't catch it for him.
I don't care if I'm out there. You gotta be like Tom Brady, man. Elevate these bums.
Catch it
Make
for
these
him.
bums good.
Even Tom Brady had to give up on the Patriots his last season with them. He knew he didn't have the guys.
Yeah. Bill's defense is definitely banged up. There's no doubt about that. They've been taking lumps for the last couple of months or so. It's they're gonna have to score points. That's just where it is. I like the banter going back and forth on Von Miller / Con Miller. He had a rough week. We can get on that maybe if we get a little time towards the end of this.
Definitely
yeah, he had a bit of a rough week. All right, so where are the Jets this week? I don't know. We're playing Houston in Houston. We can't beat anybody in MetLife. Maybe we got a shot at Houston. I don't really care. If a loss accelerates Robert Saleh being fired, that's cool. If we get to start Trevor Siemian again, and he just like checks the ball down a couple times, that would be cool too. If Zach Wilson plays, that's all cool. Like I have this is not going to be a fun game for me. They haven't been fun for a while now, and I don't expect them to get much more fun. We only have the opportunity at this point, I think, to increase our draft capital. But even that might just be salvaged, or that might just be tabled, because like if Aaron Rodgers comes back and wins us a couple of meaningless games, knocks us out of the top 10 anyway.
Yeah,
whatever, bro. It's gonna be it's not gonna be a ton of fun, especially because like going into this draft, my favorite quarterback was CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud's done nothing but light it up, and I just have to let him know that we drafted Zach Wilson, and there's like real good quarterbacks that are good and young and have wide receivers. So yeah, that's where I am.
What's going on, Jake? Glad to see you
joining us. Jake?
A little late, but
NFL was absolutely wild this week. Couple of storylines. So we got into Trevor Lawrence a little bit. We got into the Bengals showing a little bit of life with their backup quarterback.
Jake Brown, and I think the biggest story on that game, because I was really invested in that game. I do like watching the Jaguars, especially I was in Jacksonville watching the game too. But the game, I want to say they didn't have a lot of faith in him, right? So they decided to stack the box and play shallow and have Jake Browning beat them over the top, which turned out to be a big mistake, because the first thing he did was throw a perfect dime to God, how do I forget these guys, to Jamar Chase, and he beat them for 75 yards. So after that, it was just a downhill. It was just a downhill effect. And then, of course, the loss of Trevor Lawrence and CJ Beathard doing checkdowns to Evan Ingram didn't really help them either. And then they lost who's the other wide receiver? God, I'm
Christian
blanking on
Kirk.
their name. Christian Kirk. They lost Christian Kirk too. So it was really a rough game for the Jaguars to lose Christian Kirk and to lose Trevor Lawrence. But then Jake Brown just kind of stepped up. Yeah, right. Then Jake Brown just kind of stepped up and he looked like the man. He looked poised. He looked good out there.
Looked like Joe Burrow out there, man.
Yeah, right. I wish we had Jake Brown on our team, but man, it was just a good game for them. So that was really fun to watch for sure.
I loved it and hated it. I hated it because I needed the Bengals to lose, and I hate the Bengals, but I loved it because it just goes to show if you have an elite surrounding cast, anyone could throw the football. And it makes me – because I argue that Joe Burrow isn't a top 2 quarterback because of that fact. You look at guys like – again, I'm a Bills fan, so I compare him to Josh. You look at what Josh has around him his whole career, and you look at what Joe Burrow has, and then you see Joe Burrow's backup go in the game and put up 34 points and win the game and throw for over 300 and something yards. But if Kyle Allen came into the game for the Bills, I don't even know if we can get a touchdown. So it's like
I completely agree.
That's what I liked about it is because kind of like validates what I always been saying is like I think Burrow isn't as good as Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen's better than Burrow, not because just Josh has better stats every year, but because if Josh had T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, and Jamar Chase, what are we talking about? I think we'd be pretty crazy. But
what about
Joe Burrow's still good.
Striving for.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say Joe Burrow's a bad quarterback. I'm just saying like it really goes to show if you have all that around you. Just like when Jalen Hurts got hurt last year and Gardner Minshew went in and threw for 400 yards the next game. You got the cast around you.
Gardner Minshew's still throwing for some big yards.
Yeah, but I will hate though if I see the Bengals make it into the damn playoffs and the Bills don't with Jake Browning and then damn Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett, damn Joe Flacco, and all I'll think about is how we lost to the damn stinking Patriots who haven't even scored like 1 point in like 5 weeks and they put 29 on us.
Yep.
They put 29. Oh my gosh.
I want to say too, to your point too. I mean, you can have a great supporting cast, but if you don't have a great quarterback, it doesn't help. Because I always think about Baker Mayfield and the cast he had in Cleveland with Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. and with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Njoku, and he wasn't able to do anything. Even in I want to say over in Tampa Bay, he still has the same he essentially has the same team that Tom Brady won a championship with. He's still not able to do anything with them. So
I mean, he's doing some things. They are winning some football games. They are scoring some points.
I will say, speaking of Tampa Bay, have you guys ever just looked at Mike Evans' stats just in a row?
Oh yeah, he's disgusting.
This guy's just so like I've always knew he was good, but like it's just mind blowing. It's mind-blowing how Hall of Fame caliber this guy's been. Yeah. And I was thinking about it. I know we got Diggs, but hey, I'd love to have Mike Evans over here, make him and Diggs a 1A, 1B. I mean, you got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, you got Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, you got Devonta Smith and AJ Brown. Why can't we have I know why, because of money, but imagine Mike Evans and Stephon Diggs. That'd be crazy. But
you got Gabe Davis.
You know what? I was thinking about where Gabe Davis could go. He could go to the Bears.
He could go to New England. We'll take New England. Yeah.
He could go to the Patriots or I had another team in my head who had no receivers. I think it was an NFC team, but regardless,
maybe the Colts.
He could stay far away from Buffalo. I love the guy. I was hyped up about him, but unless he takes like a significant, unless he wants like, I'll take like a $9 million a year contract, which he won't. I bring him back then. But if he wants like $17 million a year, he can't. Like he hasn't been consistent enough to do that. And at that point, I would rather get Mike Evans for $17 million a year.
Listen,
So
Gabe Davis is your biggest X factor, Bills fan. When Gabe Davis has big games, the Buffalo Bills have big games, and that is absolutely true.
I guess that's why they haven't had many big games this season.
exactly, yeah.
I'll blame-
and that was the other thing I was saying for years is like people tried putting it like, hey, you're so hard on Gabe Davis. Like he had 800 yards last year. Yeah, and 190 of them were in one game. I don't really care about yards. Like he's not consistent. He has one game where he goes 3 for 150 and 2 touchdowns. Then he has 0 for 0, then 1 for 1, 0 for 0, then 6 for 101 touchdown. And that's not good enough. You got a number 2 receiver should never have 0 catches or 0 targets. A true number 2 receiver, like a bona fide number 2, should never have 0 targets in a game ever.
That sounds like a quarterback issue.
Oh God!
I think the Bills should quickly trade Gabe Davis to the Patriots before the season ends, get some assets for him, and then I'll be happy with that.
Yeah. Chris, I think we're on to your matchup, right?
No, we already discussed our matchup.
Yeah.
We're gonna lose.
Yeah, no, it's true. So San Francisco, Philadelphia. You finally called it, Keith. You finally said it. They got beat.
Yeah, look,
They didn't just get
I'm
beat.
not. Look, I'm not puffing my chest out after a victory like this. This was no, because this was a game that the San Francisco 49ers weren't going to lose. A meteor could have hit their locker room prior to that game, and they weren't going to lose. That whole team could have the flu, and they weren't going to lose that game. They wanted it so bad, if for no other reason than to prove that they could have won last year's NFC Championship game had Brock Purdy not gone down on the first series with the torn UCL. They were talking, they've been talking all season about this game. As soon as the schedule came out, they said, we want Philly and we want this game bad. They wanted this game more than the Eagles did. The Eagles went to the Super Bowl last year, and I'm telling you, they just had a look in their eyes of a team that was not going to lose. And that's not an indictment on the Eagles. That's not even an indictment on the San Francisco 49ers as being better than the Eagles. That just is. They were going to win. So moving forward, the Eagles fans, the Eagles sports talk radio personalities here in Philadelphia, they are they're concerned about the Eagles, and they should be, because even after a game like that where they were almost destined to lose that game, there's real concerns about this Eagles team, and they have a very real chance of going down to Dallas this weekend and losing yet again. And if they do, then this season becomes very hairy for an Eagles team that was looking like they were going to coast to a number 1 seed in the NFC this season.
Yeah. What I think happened with that game was, how like when your wife has a pickle jar and she can't really open it, and then you twist it a little bit and then you loosen it up just enough. I think the Bills beat the crap out of the Eagles pretty good. Made them a little bit bruised up and banged up, and then the 49ers came and finished the job that we should have did. But I'm not mad or anything about that game. Don't get me wrong, but
I think it was a game that the Eagles really needed to lose, because they, been beating up on everyone in the NFL so far. So I think this was a wake up call, something to kind of help them refocus them. Like, hey, we can be taken down. We can lose this. So I think this was a good one. It was a high scoring game. It was kind of like also like a fluke, because for Deebo Samuel to have a big game like that, 4 catches, he had 4
fantasy team.
It was great for my team too. 4 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. It was kind of crazy. Then he had a rushing touchdown for 19 yards.
This is a good question right here. Who do you guys consider to be the best team in the NFL right now?
The best team in the NFL.
For the 49ers. I think I give it to the 49ers. I mean, they got good defense. They have a good defense. They have a good offense. They have great running backs, great wide receivers. Brock Purdy's looking real poised. He's good in the pocket. And with the addition of Chase Young to their defense, it's just kind of like hard to stop them at this point. You know, they well-rounded team. I would have given it to the Eagles, but it looks like DeAndre Swift is kind of he can be inconsistent at times. And without that running game, how teams can't, how effective are teams, they can't just beat you in the air all game long. But
word on the street is they're still trying to peel DeAndre Swift off the field from that hit he took at the end of the game.
Oh man, that was ridiculous.
That was brutal.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to say the Niners.
Yeah,
I kind of don't, just because they had that 3-game losing streak, and I personally believe my mantra is great teams don't lose 2 games in a row. They were hurt, so I guess I can't really use that same thought process. So I guess I had to say the Niners, because the Eagles were the best team in everybody's eyes, well, most people's eyes, and the Niners whooped them. The Niners whooped on Dallas, who's also pretty good. And in the AFC, I don't know. I think
say it, Sean.
I don't know. It's just I look at the Ravens and the Dolphins, like they just don't got something that I'm looking for, if that makes sense. Like, you look at Lamar Jackson, everyone's saying he's an MVP, right? He's got 18 total touchdowns and 16 total turnovers. He's getting carried by the defense in the running game. So there's something missing there for me. The Dolphins, they're great, but then they haven't showed up against the good teams. And then I'm not trying to be mean, because we're 6-6, but when you look at the Niners, I think when they weren't injured, they beat up on everybody, good team or bad. So I think you have to say the Niners right now. But also, I think if Dallas can come out, beat the crap out of the Eagles, I don't want them to beat us, but if they beat us, and then they have the Lions after that too. You beat the Lions, then I think Dallas has a chance to be that team, but it's going to change weekly. But right now, I guess it's the Niners.
Travalis, thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate
What's
it.
going on, Travalis?
What's up?
Fins up, buddy. Fins up.
Fins up, baby.
Anthony, who do you think the best team in the NFL is?
It's actually, weirdly enough, it's definitely one of the teams in the NFC. I think the Niners are probably it, but I think the Cowboys are right there with them. And you might even say that the Cowboys have the edge, because their interior offensive line is unbelievable. They're going to be able to run the football in the playoffs against teams in the weather, in cold weather conditions. They are playing very good old school West Coast offense. They have a plethora of wide receiver options. They've got multiple good tight ends. And like I said, they have a phenomenal interior offensive line, which does matter in the playoffs. You need to be able to push the big fatties out of the way and get your running back some room. So that's cool. On defense, we know what they can do. We know that Micah Parsons is an MVP candidate as a defensive player. Absolutely unstoppable edge rusher. They've got good corners. Deron Bland, what he's doing with five interceptions returned for touchdowns, like that dude is unreal right now. So it would be hard. I know, you've got the Bosas, you've got Chase Young across from Bosa right now. You've got a very good defense, great linebackers for the 49ers, but it's hard to get away with that from that Dallas team right now.
You know what?
Yeah,
I'm going to change my team. I'm changing my team. I think the best team in the NFL is the Bills when they have Gabe Davis engaged.
Oh, God.
Well, you have an argument for that, technically, I guess. But yeah, like Jake's saying, look at what the 49ers have, dude. And this is another thing. I can't really confidently say I know anything about Brock Purdy. George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, you put Zach Wilson over there. I'm confident Zach Wilson can put up numbers. The
worst part about that? The Niners were going to give us a bunch of picks for that Zach Wilson pick. We could have just not, and then getting all those picks. That was the guy they were trading up for, that they wanted. And then we're like, no, we have who's Mike LaFleur. We have Mike LaFleur, and he'll do the thing, and he didn't.
Well,
yeah.
It
also pisses me off when I look back at that Christian McCaffrey trade. And as soon as I saw it come up on the screen, I said, the Bills could have done that easily. Anyone could have done that. But people were scared because of the injuries in Carolina. Now look at this dude. insane. He could win MVP. But
I would say they're getting more out of him than almost any other team in the NFL would.
oh, that's true. Yeah, I can't lie about that. But
Yeah.
still, it's just like when you see someone like his caliber go for what he went for, and like I don't even think it was a first round pick. I think it was a couple seconds and a third or a fourth and a fourth. And I'm like, what the hell? Like you let the Niners get this dude? Of all
Yeah.
teams, you let the Niners get this dude? That's insane. And I say that personally too because McDermott and Bean were with him in Carolina. So it's like, come on now.
Thanks
all
for
right.
tuning in. Back It Up Binge podcast.
How you doing? Back it up.
Let us know in the chat who you're cheering for here. What team are you a fan of, man?
I'm cheering for the Bills when Gabe Davis. Even if you look at their last game against the Eagles, the only reason that they were able to compete and turn this game into a shootout is because they had Gabe Davis involved.
You know what,
And-
Chris? If you want Gabe Davis this offseason, I don't think any
I-
of us
I-
will argue with you
I'd-
taking him.
I'd pick up Gabe Davis. I mean, if you think about it, if you put Gabe Davis on the Kansas City Chiefs, right? If you swap Gabe Davis for MVS,
Nice.
You'd see no improvement.
yes, you
Love
would.
it.
Yes,
Yes,
you
you
might
would.
get worse. You might get worse because
You see, I think you see a great. Even
His hands are at least as suspect as MVS's.
no, ain't no way. MVS has a whole highlight reel of drop passes, but I'm sure Gabe Davis does too. I'm sure every NFL wide receiver does. But still, if you look at that game with the Eagles, Gabe Davis had the same receptions as Stephon Diggs, and he had 40 more yards, 30 more yards. So you see, when they get him involved, then the offense changes drastically. So,
Davis had 12 targets, and that dude caught 6.
and how many targets does Stephon Diggs have? How many targets does Stephon Diggs have?
I think I think they had 24 combined. So
12 and 12. Yep. So he made more of his opportunities. So like I said, you get
Yeah,
him
so-
involved and you throw him the
So don't get me
ball,
wrong.
then he's gonna make it
Diggs dropped a
happen.
couple too, but he earned the right to he could drop a couple and we can't kill this dude for it. Gabe Davis, he's not vindicated yet. He had that Chiefs game where he had 4 touchdowns. That was crazy. 4 touchdowns, 200 yards. But you know what? He ain't never been nothing since then, and he's been failing us. He has a couple good games, but I mean, sometimes he doesn't even get off the bus.
How much of that really is on the quarterback at a certain point?
We need to do a whole week on just Gabe Davis as soon as the season
We should. I think
When-
we absolutely should.
I'll be
When
sure
an
to skip
NFL
that
player
show.
has the same amount of targets as us in a game, something's wrong.
I mean, I'm sure
That's
if he could throw himself the ball, he would. But if your quarterback doesn't look
He
your
might
way,
not catch it. He does.
How you doing over there, Keith?
We're getting off
I
topic.
really
here,
hope
boys.
the Patriots get Gabe Davis though, just because I know Chris would be happy.
All right, no more
We're
Gabe
gonna-
Davis. I'm tired of it. The guy's
Caleb-
terrible.
Caleb Williams is going to throw him the ball and turn him into the animal that I know he can be.
Caleb, whatever. All right. Last topic before I guess we're going to draft Lek ahead. Chicago head coach. Let's talk a little bit about that for a second because there are some rumors that there's a couple of head coaches that they might go with if they get rid of Eberflus. Just on Twitter, I was seeing Eric Bieniemy if they dump him. Then I saw John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh. I don't know. Whatever one's unemployed right now or at Michigan, close enough. Whatever one's going to be available. The weirdest thing to me was that if Harbaugh goes there, everybody's favorite Greg Roman is available as an OC. And Roman has worked with the Harbaughs for the better part of the last 15 years, just ping-ponging between the two of them. So I'm guessing if they get Harbaugh and they bring in Greg Roman, Justin Fields is staying. How do you feel about that, Chris? I'm saving that for you.
I mean, like I said, I like Justin Fields. And I think the only thing they really need is another wide receiver over there. Maybe, like you said, to get him real comfortable with staying in that pocket and kind of just putting a scaffold around him and let him just kind of build and work within that offense. But I don't really see any reason why they would take that number 1 pick and get another high draft quarterback when you can get somebody like Marvin Harris Jr. and you can get a it's someone to complement DJ Moore, and you have a 1-2 combo. Because really, if you think about some of the most effective teams in the NFL, they have that 1-2 punch. They have those two good receivers, and you get somebody like that on the Bears offense, who's looking like they're the thing about Justin Fields, he shows a lot of life. He has flashes of excellence. Even early in the season when he had the 4-touchdown game and he had DJ Moore going crazy, he's not a bad quarterback. I'd rather have him on New England than anything. Gabe to the Bears would be a good
That's what
move.
I was literally just thinking that. Like, read my mind.
Be a good. If you put Gabe in the Bears, and I promise you, he'd do a lot more than what he's doing in Buffalo. So, but
Crazy.
yeah, if I'm Chicago, then I'm definitely grabbing a number one wide receiver from the draft, and just gonna let Justin Fields do his thing. So I mean, he's a dual threat quarterback. He can air it out. He can run on. So that's how I feel.
Sean, what do you think about of Justin Fields in a Greg Roman offense?
And like Jake said, I think it worked pretty well. It'd be interesting. I don't hate Justin Fields. I think maybe the last game he played, the Vikings game, he had a couple really nice throws, but again, to your point too, he's also mechanically not correct. And if he did what Josh Allen did in that second to third year, work on the mechanics, work on the little things, maybe he could do that. Maybe he can elevate a little bit, but we have yet to see it. And maybe guys like Harbaugh and Roman could get him to what Chris thinks he is. And that'd be interesting because he's still crazy with his legs. So he broke the rushing record for quarterback that year. We had 1,200 yards rushing or something crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
So I'm sure if he can just work on his mechanics and how he reads the defense and reads the field with guys like DJ Moore, Cole Kmet actually had a pretty decent year this year, or is having one. And then if you get Marvin Harrison Jr. or Gabe Davis, but if you get Marvin Harrison Jr.
one or the other,
then maybe he could be. I mean, it was funny because Bears fans thought he'd get MVP this year, but maybe he can actually fight for that kind of title next year. Maybe the year after that, because you might need a year to get worked in with the coaches. But I think it might be good, but we'll see.
I think Anthony explained it perfectly when he said that Gabe Davis was not Gabe Davis, sorry. When he said that Justin Fields was the J.R. Smith of the NFL, which I think is funny too, because J.R. Smith was one of my favorite players being a Knicks fan. But I mean, he does some things really well. You see explosiveness, and then some games it's like, what's going on? Because J.R. Smith was the same way. Some games he would just hit every three. He would hit the most difficult 3 points you'd ever seen in his life. He'd have just the craziest highlights. And then some games you'd be like, man, put this guy on the bench because he's killing us. So
it's like somebody I know.
Keith, would you fire Flus and go with the Harbaugh Roman combo, or would you stick with Flus? Or would you
I would go with Jim Harbaugh. I think Jim Harbaugh is one of the better football coaches that we have in both college and pro these days. And when it comes to Jim Harbaugh, he got a good look at Justin Fields when Justin Fields was at Ohio State. He got a good look at him every season, Michigan, Ohio State. Who better to evaluate Justin Fields than Jim Harbaugh? So Jim Harbaugh is going to come in and say whether or not he wants to stick with Justin Fields or go with a quarterback like Caleb Williams, like the kid from Washington, like maybe the kid from UNC, there's Drake May, Michael Penix. There's a number of options for Jim Harbaugh to take in this upcoming draft. And the beautiful thing about the Bears is
please don't ruin my hopes. Please don't ruin it, Jake.
Damn it, Jake. Stick to the NFC for all this stuff.
No, the beautiful thing about the Bears right now is that they have a ton of assets. They're a super attractive team to go to. And you can kind of mold the team in your image if you go there. And that's going to be super attractive to Jim Harbaugh. And, he'll be able to decide on Justin Fields or Caleb Williams or whoever he wants and be able to get a complimentary piece to go along with whatever quarterback he decides on.
He'll bring back Kaepernick. Run it
Yeah.
back. Try to get back to the Super Bowl like they did back in the day.
All you need to do is get that man Gabe Davis, and that's it.
Kaepernick,
I think we're off the
Gabe
rails
Davis.
now. I think that's about time to probably wrap it up. Listen, if you guys like what you see, this is the AFC Summit show on the Nickel City Mafia. I'm Anthony Warchild, represent for the Jets. Dolphin, Keith, Chris from Pats Nation, Sean from Red, Whites, and Bills. I think it's pretty much wrapping it up for me. I've had enough Gabe Davis talk.
I need a
Yeah.
Have a good night, guys.
painkiller.
Fins up,
Yeah.
guys.
Young
Fins up.
goat, Pats Nation.
Jet up.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. If you like what you heard, like and subscribe.
And don't forget, Gabe's the GOAT.